Hi, everyone. My name is Shelly Dressel. I channel the universal light beings. Well, I channel many different beings, including the goddess of creation. But I'm here tonight to channel the universal light beings. These are three high vibrational beings that come from the universe. Cristallia is from the omniverse. She's just pure crystalline energy. Brysentia comes from Pleiades, but she was also a part of Lemuria and very much a part of the earth. And then Elon comes from Arcturus, and he is he's just very he has his own ship, and he pilots these ships. I think it's one of the plasma ships, or he can go into the plasma, out of the plasma. Anyway, so they each three bring different energies to the table here, and we talk about what's going on in the world. They talk about the changes, they talk about the planet, they talk about the universe, they talk about the interactions, they talk about each of us and what we're going through. So all of these many different changes. It can be very long, and I know a lot of you that tune in here, you're here the whole entire time, and I thank you for that. But whether you're here for a short time now and you listen more later, it's all good, and I thank you for being here. I thank you for following me. This is going to be streaming on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. So, but my website is crystallinetransformations.com, and so you can also go into that to see some, all the different things that I have done. I usually do this on the excuse me, on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, which tonight's the second Wednesday. And so I've got a lot of channels in there going all the way back to about 2022. And so you can just look at that and see it. Now, there's many questions that people keep sending over and over and over. And a lot of these are people that I know are in here all the time because I recognize your name. So if there's something that has to do with, is the pandemic going to happen again? Is the ascension really going to happen? Is there, all of these things that I've talked about multiple different times, maybe go back and listen to some of those old ones, because I'm just not going to answer it again. It's the same answer. It's always been, it's not changing. And so I just feel like the ULBs want to talk about other stuff and not just regurgitate the same thing over and over and over again. So thank you. Hello from Atlanta, Ontario, Mexico, Norway. I love this. This is fabulous. From Maine in the U.S. and Canadians. Jill, I know Jill. I just worked with you last week. Hello. Judy. So lots of different people. This community is a worldwide community, and I truly appreciate you tuning in, whether you're on the night that I'm actually channeling or at another time. But this is a place to be in this high vibrational energy. This is a way to be in this frequency, and it's just super exciting to me. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So like I said, there's a lot of questions that were sent in, and I'm not going to answer every single question I got, but I did try to group them together and get the ones that I heard the most often asked, or the ones that I think are more in alignment. And so I just know they always do. They have a lot to say, don't they? And Brysentia is going to start first today. So I was just, as I was sitting here waiting for the time to start, I was just kind of feeling her energy, and she was showing me some kind of cool things. So I'm very excited about this. So again, consider liking, saving, what is it called? Subscribing, whatever it may be. And that way, or sign up for my newsletter, so that you can then be notified whenever I do these. Oh, yes, I just did a ULB mini last Friday about China. I thought that was fascinating. I'd heard it mentioned in several different places, and I thought, I wonder what Elon would have to say about that. And to me, it was very enlightening. I love the dragons, of course. I've talked about the dragons multiple different times, so that was a fascinating part of that. And everyone, myself included, has always thought, oh, the Chinese, they're so terrible. They're controlling the world. They're this, they're that. Well, so was the U.S. and so was the nefarious ones in all of the different countries around the world. So I could feel a new shift in the energy in China, and I could feel a big change coming on. So hopefully they're opening up and getting to a better place, just as the U.S. is, just as all these other countries in the world are getting to a better place. So it's very exciting. you can go back and look at that. I didn't put the link in here, but if you go to crystallinetransformations.com, it's right there on the homepage. Okay, well, more people coming in. Thank you. So Wisconsin, Ohio, all over the place, California. I truly, truly appreciate it. Y'all are wonderful, and I just really love this energy. All right, so I'm just gonna get quiet here, and we shall begin. I always try to jot time down on here so that when I go back and I write it up, I'll have a better idea. Greetings. It is I, Brysentia. Whew. I come to you first this evening because there is a lot that I wish to discuss with you. We are here at this very pivotal time on the planet. We are here at a time in which the diversity, if you want to call it that, or not discrepancy, that's not the right word, where there are so many people that are really opening up to the light, that are stepping into the new energy. And yet there are so many people that are holding on to the old energy and not wanting to change. And so that difference in the consciousness is just, at this point, it almost seems like it's wider than it has ever been before. However, what has needed to take place on this planet and what is taking place, thanks to all of you and all of the other people that are very conscious of doing this, is that you are stepping outside of that old paradigm and you are stepping into the new way of what it is to live upon this earth. There was a message going back and forth between Shelly and I as we were sitting here quietly ready to start this. And I wanted to share an idea with you simply because we get so many people that call and say things over and over again that have to do with the old energy and that have to do with changes that are taking place and that they don't see anything different in their life and that everything is the same as what it's always been. So what went through my mind, and of course you can put anything into this scenario, but this is one that I feel that most can relate to. So you consider a person that maybe drinks a little too much. Maybe they spend too much time going down to the pub and they're not at home doing what they need to do. And it's gotten to the point now where they're late to go to work in the morning because they're drinking so much. They're not getting the work done as efficiently and as good as they need to because they're drinking too much. And they're not showing up for family life because they're drinking too much. You get the point here. And so this individual goes through a change in their life and they see, oh my goodness, there's something else that's going to be better here. I think I need to stop drinking. I think I need to make new choices for myself and do something different. So the same individual that's now made a conscious choice to do something different in his life, he continues to go back to the pub. He continues to go there after work. He continues to go on his lunch hour. He continues to associate with all of the same people. And he's saying, I want to be in this other place where I'm not drinking so much, where I'm not in this same rigmarole. I can see how it's hurting me. I can see how it's hurting my family. But he keeps doing the same thing over and over again. And this is what I believe so many people have gotten into a habit of doing. They want to change. They see that there's a potential to change, but they're not changing themselves. They're not changing their reality. They're not changing how they look at the world. They're simply saying, I want change, and then somehow expecting it all to happen without doing anything. And this is why I wanted to share this right here at the very beginning. I'm laughing because I could just hear people click off, click off, click off. Fine, totally fine, of course. But consider this for maybe the people that you know, or consider this if this is what you have experienced in your life. If you want to see that new, different reality that did not include something that took you away from everything, that held you down, that made you feel bad, that made you feel sick, that kept you from doing well, if you want to do change, you find a new pub to go to, or you find a way to go exercise outside, or you find a group of people that you can talk to about different things. So you change your reality by the actions that you are doing every single day. It begins with you making that conscious choice. I keep hearing there's something better over here. okay, what can I do to get to it? Well, I've read this, or I've tried this, or I've gone here. Oh, I don't really know what any of that means. I'm in the habit of doing this. So you slide back in. It takes a concerted effort, and it takes, what is it? I believe it's like what? 14, 21 days of making a choice to do something different for it to then become a new habit for you. So think about that. You have something you've done for your whole life, and in as little as 3 weeks, you can change that habit by simply making a choice once a day or multiple times during that day for 3 weeks. And this is, in fact, I believe it could be even quicker than that, because the energy and the vibration of the earth is so much higher. It's so much lighter. It allows for you to make changes in a new way. So I'm inviting each one of you, rather than commenting on the things that are not happening, start making the changes, making new choices, talking to different people. Let go of that old rhetoric that you've been using. Don't keep scanning the same websites you've been going to. Don't listen to the same blogs that you've been listening to, because all of that is what keeps you stuck in the same place. There is lots of information out there that is of a high light vibrational frequency. There are many, many people that want to talk about what it is to look at new potentials, what it is to be in something that's positive and light and airy. And so you can find these people and you can make these changes. Sending lots of love and sending lots of energy, that each one of you that is seeking to do this, that this will be your truth, this will be your reality, and it will happen to you with ease. Okay, that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The next thing that I want to say is that as you have this gulf that has gotten so big between those people stuck in the old energy and those people stepping into the new, one of the reasons that it seems like there's such a divergence between everyone is because of the fact that these people that are part of the nefarious ones, and even those that may not know that they're doing so, but anyone that keeps feeding into that energy by regurgitating again and again and again and again and again, that's just a part of what is keeping that there. So if you pull out any cords that are hooked into you and you let that go, then what you're going to find is that even more that gulf that you feel between people will get lesser and lesser and lesser, because instead of it being this or that, it then becomes a blended whole. And it's going to take a long time, meaning months or a year or more, for all of these people to make that shift over. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that there are so many people that are already this close that it will not take much of anything for them to shift into a new vibration and frequency. And in doing so, the more that there's the light, the more light there is. The more that there's light, the more that there are people that find it. It just keeps growing and growing. Okay, so coming up on December 17th, it's going to be, I believe, a full moon, an eclipse. There is a lot of change that's coming up just on the 17th. And if you look at the astrology for this year, it was just last month that you went out of a whole pattern or a whole paradigm that you'd been stuck in for, what was it, 20-something thousand years. And you are just beginning something new. And so the universe is lining up to help you live in the light, to help you live with the high frequency, to help you live in a place that uplifts you and helps you to feel better. And so with this full moon coming up, this is a fabulous time for you to make that choice to live in a place where all of my energy is going to be wide open. All of my intuition is going to flow with even greater ease. I am now going to be able to see with my inner eyes or hear with my inner voice. And these things that you've been talking about that you say, yes, I would like that to happen, but no, it's not happening to me. Well, these are the kinds of changes that are going to become easier and easier for you as the energy continues to shift and transition on the earth. Okay, so make that intention and just put it out there for the full moon and the eclipse coming up. I believe it's the 17th or something like that. And what are we on? The 11th. You know, we don't look at the calendar. We don't look at the dates like you do. And so sometimes I have to stop and think, you know, with Shelly's brain or look at the calendar there to get that information. So you may ask, I just heard someone say, okay, if you don't have a calendar, if you don't follow a calendar, then what do you look at? We have a different way of measuring time and space reality out in the universe. And it's something that would be more along the lines of something following seasons. Every planet has various seasons that are on the planet. Some have like 5, 6 seasons. Some have only 1 season. But they have different ways of feeling a change in the energy. Sometimes it's in temperature. Sometimes it's in the amount of density. It's in the amount of frequency. It's in the vibration. Because some of these planets that are so close to other planets, they can feel the vibration and the changes. They come into a particular alignment with these other planets, and that causes them to feel something. So rather than having something that is in a simple 24-hour time frame, it's a more global, it's a bigger, more expanded time frame. So this is one of the things that when I try to narrow it down, okay, today's the 11th and that's the 17th, it's like, that's very close to us. I would probably, if I were out talking with other people in the universe or in another perspective, I would already be talking about we're in the energies of the eclipse. We're in the energies of this full moon. So how can you make it work the best for you? Okay. So the other thing that is changing is the alignment that we have with the other planets that are in not only this galaxy, but in your universe. The 3-eye atlas continues to work with everybody on the Earth plane. It is now shifting. It's getting closer to the sun again, and it's going in front of the sun. The sun is the universal amplifier, you could say. It sends out the solar flares. The moon actually sends out energy at times too. But the sun, there are meteors, there are asteroids, there are different things that are out in your universe that send impulses that go to the different planets. And so the 3-eye atlas is a way of sending in frequency, of sending in energy to the different planets with whom it's communicating. And then that also comes back around into the sun, where the sun is shining on all of these different planets. And that's like the combiner. It combines everything, and it sends that new energy that is just pulsating into all of humanity. There are many of you that are accustomed to living out in the universe, not living on this planet. And so some of these energies, you may be feeling something, say, from Pluto, or something from Venus, or something from, you know, one of these other planets, or Sirius, and it may cause something within your consciousness, or probably your unconsciousness, that is saying, hey, there's something about that planet that I'm resonating with. And it could be that that's your home planet, or that's where you usually tend to live your lives. And therefore, by thinking about it or connecting to it, you may get downloads that will help you to understand that universal perspective of things, rather than just a global perspective of things, or rather than just a country perspective of things, like just that one country in which you live. Because these changes that are taking place are going to have an impact. It already is on the entire galaxy, and then from there moving out into the universe. So the other thing that's happening is these different planets that have been associated with you throughout time. The astrologers would know all this stuff, and I'm sorry I'm having to use Shelly's brain here, but you might come into contact at this degree instead of this degree. And so instead of it going past each other like this, you come into contact on the other side. It's just a way of putting forth that intention in a way that perhaps your mind can comprehend it, of we're passing by each other in a way that is different than what it did before. And if you think about that, if you rub something on your fabric this way and then you rub it up this way, it feels different because the texture is different. So that texture, or the vibration, or the energy of passing by these planets from a different direction or a different degree of energy is what activates things, and it's what helps to stabilize things. So that's another question that people have had. Is the Earth going to stabilize? Is the Earth going to get better? And here's the key. It already is. The Earth is already one of the most stable planets in this part of the galaxy. I hear you. I hear you. Everyone said, oh, but what about the nuclear? Well, again, it's been about 35, 40 years since they decided there will not be a nuclear bomb, and not even the small ones, or not even the dirty bombs, or those things that they would threaten you with. That is just simply not going to happen. But each one of you feel an affinity to Gaia. Some of you feel it very deeply. Some of you feel it a little more superficially. But Gaia has gone through this massive change, this massive ascension. And in doing so, it has created great, great, great stability on this planet. I understand there are still many forest fires, there are earthquakes, there are storms, there's hot, there's cold. There are many, many things that are going on the planet. And especially when you're caught up in that now moment of whatever it is that's going on, I understand that it's very, very challenging for you. And for those that are truly struggling, I send my love from my heart to yours, and I feel great compassion for that. This is where you need to detach from that moment or that specific time or that specific experience and go into that universal perspective of things to see it as it is from the universal light. And in this way, you see Gaia that was like shifting and expanding and contracting is literally just kind of settling down and is anchoring now and falling into, and this is again since the December solstice, and of course in part due to the 3-eye atlas, but this is again what has helped to stabilize this planet, and it is what's working in alignment with the other planets that are around you. So another question that had come in is people were talking about, well, what about what's in the water? What about the portals? What about going in and out of portals? And how does that affect me? Well, I can say that I personally am spending more time in physical form on the earth plane. Not all of you will recognize me if you see me, but I am interacting with humanity as a way of anchoring these energies. And I just heard what you said. Well, do you go manifest for Shelly? I don't need to, so I do not. But I am manifesting, say, for example, in New York City, in Washington, in London. I'll go into some of these big cities and I'll just be there and I'll anchor the universal energy and I'll anchor the light. I do not go alone. There's usually a group of about 8 to 10 of us, and we will go to a particular place within any one of these cities, and then we'll anchor that energy of light. And what you see happening is then people will start talking differently. They'll start looking at things differently. You'll see an end to this violence. This is just abhorrent to all of us. And the violence is still there and still rampant. I get that. But if you look at it in perspective to what it was, it is greatly, greatly, greatly diminished. You would think it is not, because that's what the media wants you to think. But it's still there. I acknowledge it, but it is not what it used to be. And that's why we have these groups of us that will drop down into the cities. We'll walk on the streets. We'll interact with people. We'll interact with each other. We'll anchor our energies. And that's another way of just us physically helping to create these change. Let us also say that we go to some places that, Romania and parts of Czech Republic and Turkey and all of that part of, the Eastern Europe, I think you call it, even parts of Poland. It is such beautiful, rich mountains and valleys and filled with energy. We will go there and we'll anchor the energy too. And in some of these places, we are awakening some of those old ancient energies that were alive and present on the earth plane, and then were subdued or put to sleep, if you might call it. And so we're doing this. I would say, okay, I heard someone ask how many places, how many times. I would say we've done at least a dozen different places. And before the what do you call it, that I was just talking about, the full moon. Before the full moon, we're planning to be in It feels like this mountaintop in either Romania, Poland. It feels like it's south of the Scandinavian, but north of the Middle East in that area. We will be in one of those places. I take that back. There's going to be a contingent down in Australia also, because there's so much, and there will be around Uluru and making and helping to make these changes. And it feels like the ones in Australia are going to be there from the full moon until the equinox in March. So they're going to be there for several weeks. Probably there are groups of people that are going to be in these various places for multiple days and weeks on end also. I'm just telling you what I've been doing. Okay, I also will go in through portals, and I'll go back out to the Pleiades, or I'll go, or ships will come in and pick one or all of us up, and we'll go up onto the ship and be on the ship and interact with people there. But there are so many portals that are all around the planet. You do not have to be in the water. There's a lot of them you hear about in the water, but there are many portals that are also associated with caves. There are portals associated with just open areas, like you might have a field and you've got cattle on your field or something like that, and you can feel that there's a portal of energy there. So this is something that is all over the planet, and not every portal goes to every place. So many of them might be used to go from one place on Earth to another place on Earth, but there are some of them that will go into these portals and then it'll take us up or out to the Pleiades or something like that. There's a great deal that you're going to be hearing about in the water. You have your oceans here. And when we talk about going into the ocean, as you remember, Lemuria, Atlantis, those different continents that have sunk, some people talk about them, they're behind the ice wall. They basically are more in the center of the planet. And they are somewhat just in a different dimension. They might be closer around you than what you think they are, but they're just in a different dimension, so you're not aware that they're there. So when you see some of these ships, or you sense or you hear about some of these ships going in and out of the water, what we're doing is we're going back into Atlantis, or we're going back down to Lemuria, or we're going to one of the other civilizations that are just part of the water. And when you get to some of these places, there's a sense that maybe, is there a dome on there? But the truth of the matter is there's not really a dome. It's just, it's hard to describe a dimension. It's like when you sit wherever you're sitting, you think, okay, here's my chair. Here's my house. Here's the people. I drive on the road. I go to my job. I have my family. That's your reality. And you see the blue sky, you see the sun, the moon, etc. You can go to these places like Lemuria or Atlantis, and you can be what's considered linear fashion inside the earth, but they're just the same as you. It's like they look up, they see the sky, they have a physicality, they communicate and connect with one another. So that is in a different dimension or a different frequency, but the perception, if you were there in that frequency, would be just as if you were right here where you are now. So this kind of information is going to be coming out more and more, especially in the next 6 to 9 months. People will be hearing about portals, and they'll be seeing more of the ships. In fact, there was a question. Let me look at this, even though, yeah, I should get into these now anyway. Someone had written into to Shelly about one evening last summer, June 2024, so 2 summers ago. I saw a large orange pinkish sun in my apartment complex. It looked like a flat disc. I decided to take a few pictures on my phone, but when I looked at the phone, there was no disc. I took a video of it, and I could see it. It was like a sun right there, and I could see it. However, on the video, there was no sun. So I did want to talk about this because many of you may be hearing things similar to this in the future. That was not a sun. It gave her the perception that it was a sun, but that was a ship. That was a plasma ship that was actually inhabited with people, and it was going, and it was either dropping people off or picking people up or something. And the reason that it didn't show up on her technology was because it was a different frequency than the technology. If it's it's not the same frequency, you're not going to see it in a camera, in your cell phone, in whatever it is that you might be trying to record it as. There will be other times that you might record it and you see something there, but it looks different. And that's because with your physical eyes, you were able to get a lot more detail of it. But this individual being able to see that was really exciting for her, because what she saw was a ship that was bringing in beings, you know, they're not all people, but anyway, it was coming and it was hovering there, and it felt like, was this in the Midwest or something like that? Anyway, it feels like desert to me, like something that was kind of open. There wasn't it wasn't like it was in tall mountains or anything like that. Oh, the Himalayan mountains is where we're going to be on the solstice. Okay. Thank you. That just, sorry. This is how it works sometimes with channeling, does it not? And how many of you have that same experience where you're talking about something, she said the mountains, and it was like, oh yeah, the Himalayan mountains is the one we were trying to think of. I digress. But anyway, so congratulations to this person for being able to see that. And I have a feeling that she already realized the fact that it didn't record on her video that it was a ship as opposed to the sun. And maybe it had that orange color because it was reflecting off, you know, the sun's rays were reflecting off of it. And so it gave it that image or that essence of being orange. But anyway, that's super exciting. And I think that there will be more and more and more of you that will see either something exactly like this or something similar, because there are so many more beings that are coming into the earth plane, and we're ready to be here. The humanity is ready to receive us. And so it's happening. Okay, we're just going to go on to these questions here. Can you please talk about the planet Niburu? Many of us can see it with our own eyes, and it's moving over us in the skies every day. Okay, so Niburu is in the general vicinity of your planet. Niburu is a massive planet, probably 2.5 times as big as the Earth plane. And so there are many, many people that can see it with the naked eye. Many people see it with the telescope. But Niburu was, when it came around, which was about 20-something thousand years ago, the last time that it came around, it stimulated or it activated a lot of that negative energy. And it's what really increased it and caused it to go more rampantly upon the Earth plane. Now it's not as close in as it was, just as I talked earlier about about planets passing one another in a different direction. Now it is there, and it's kind of anchoring the energy. It's anchoring the ascension. It's anchoring the higher vibrational frequency. It's almost as if this is one of those planets that just shines a light. And so at the time before, when there was so much negativity that was taking effect, it shined the light on the negativity. It amplified that. Now it's shining the light on this planet where so much light and ascension and transformation's been taking place. So it's shining the light on that transformation, that even more of that is going to take place. So it's out there, as there are many different planets, but that's the reason why it is different than it was the last time that it came through. Let's see. Can you please tell us about our true history and the vapor canopy periods? When will be the next vapor canopy? Some are saying 2040. The vapor canopy, the vapor canopy, the vapor canopy. So what this is talking about, at least the way I'm perceiving it as I'm tapping into it, I haven't heard it referred to in that manner before. Whether people call it a dome or you call it an edge, as you know, there is that which when you see the rockets that are going out, they have the gravitational pull, and then they go through that barrier, and then suddenly, you know, they're weightless. You know, they're no longer inside that pull that keeps you part of the gravitational pull of the Earth. So that edge, that barrier. Some call it the sphere that is around the planet. Some call it, some people may have referred to that as the vapor canopy. Although when I'm tapping into this, the vapor canopy was much closer into the Earth plane. It wasn't as expanded out as what the edge of this is. 17th is the new moon, not the full moon. Thank you so much for clarifying that for me. This is Shelly's, I have to use Shelly's brain. So I truly appreciate you explaining that. Thought it was a full moon, but it's the new moon. But I knew that, we knew that it was an eclipse. So sorry about that. Okay. Anyway, so back to this. So the vapor canopy, when there was the ice age, as you referred to it, when there was Noah's flood, there was more of that that water that was contained inside of here, and it did create like when the people would look up, it was always cloudy, you could say. It looked like more clouds. The skies weren't as blue. There was a different perception, and that was just what people were accustomed to at that time. I do not have any sense of this happening again in 2040. I do not think that the vapor canopy, because this is saying that broke and exploded and that's what caused Noah's flood. No, I don't believe that was it. I believe that Noah's flood was caused more so by a laser light coming in or some sort of an impulse that was coming in that melted a lot of the glaciers that were available at that time, and it caused this surge of water to come up, and then that surrounded the whole planet, and then it got absorbed into Gaia. So I don't see it as a canopy that surrounded the planet that broke, and that's what flooded it. So I did want to, that's my perception of that as I'm looking at it. Other people may have a different perception. There are multiple ways of looking at something and interpreting something. Is President Trump's name on the Kennedy Center to bring in more light because of the tunnels underneath that were being used by the nefarious ones? Okay, the Kennedy Center. I believe this is in Washington, D.C. Okay. Those of you that have been aware of the disclosure and aware of the many things that are going on the planet probably also know that it was Kennedy himself that was going to talk about the ETs that were out, and about the fact that we were part of a much bigger group of beings than just our own little planet. And so this is something that Trump is in alignment with him. The other thing that he wanted to do was he tried to take down the nefarious ones. He tried to take down those people that were part of the, what do you call it at the time? Sorry, I'm sorry when I struggle with words. I know Cabal is one of the ones, but the people that joined a secret organization, he wanted to expose those secret organizations, and he was planning to, and he was going to. He was also going to take the dollar back to he was going to get rid of the IRS. He was going to make all of these very radical changes at the time that didn't suit the people that were around him. And so that was why he was assassinated. And so the reason for Trump going in alignment with this, not only has he been supporting the Kennedy Center, but there is this vibrational alignment between the two of them. People have talked about it before, Lincoln, Kennedy, and now Trump, that interaction, they all three were the ones that stood there in front of the nefarious ones saying, I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to put up with this. So that's truly the alignment behind it. And that will all come out in the future. And people are going to look at it and say, oh, that's why their names are both on there. And it feels like Lincoln may even be added at some point also. So that's one of the reasons why they're doing it at this time, is because it's linking, for anybody that looks at it or anyone that reads about it, that Trump and Kennedy, there was something going on. There was some connection between them, and it must mean something. And that's what it means. Now then, as to the nefarious ones, and yeah, it was rampant. These tunnels were all over, under the White House, under the Congress, under the Senate, under the, every single major building in every single country had these dumbs that were underneath it. And that's where there was child trafficking, people trafficking, everything. And so especially in Washington, D.C., and in the vast majority of all the large cities now, they have brought this under control, and it is no longer going on there. I'm not saying they haven't gotten rid of all the child trafficking, because unfortunately it goes on, but it is a fraction of what it used to be. And some people may say, well, why is he repairing this center? Just like he's building that new section on the White House. Why is he doing these things? Well, because it's not only getting rid of the dumbs and the things that were there that were part of the nefarious deeds, but it is also setting up places where they can now have, like, it feels like there's a portal in one of these, probably in the White House, where ETs and different people can beam into that portal, and he himself can beam out to the universe if needed. So there are different things like that that are going on, and that's these two places in particular. I feel as if there's a deep connection between them, and that's why they're happening in the way that they are. That's what's going on. Kennedy was not perfect. He had a lot of things that many people disliked about him. Trump has a lot of things that many people dislike about him. But what you got to do is you got to look at the core being. You got to look at the core essence. Who is this person at their core and at their soul? And both of them were 100% of the light, and both of them were working to bring more light and more ascension into the country, which in turn would be then into the planet. Okay, let's see here. Will Nancy Guthrie, who was kidnapped almost 2 weeks ago in Arizona, be found by law enforcement, or was this a scam? Let me look. There's something fishy about this. It does not feel straightforward. It feels as if it was, created, as if it was not finagled, but it feels like it was created for a reason. There's something else going on behind this. It's not just what you see on the surface. It feels like she's not truly at risk. It feels like she agreed to do this. This is showing something else that's going on underneath. This is not about what you're seeing on the surface. This is about, not only is it a distraction from other things, but it's about just showing up other stuff that's going on underneath. That's what the end result is going to be. And they may say that she doesn't make it, that they find remains or something like that, but when I'm just tapping into her, I feel like she's still alive, and she knows that this is all kind of orchestrated, and that there's something, there's some reason for it. There's something else going on. And when I look at it and I'm trying to get that information, it's like all of these different illusions are like, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. And that's what tells me it's not exactly the way it's being portrayed, because I cannot get a direct and clear answer. If I could, then I could give you that answer. But whenever it's like all of these different facades and all of these different things that are going on, that keeps you from being able to see a clear answer. And that's what someone is doing intentionally. But I do believe, my sense is she's still alive. So it's hard to say, is she going to come back? Yes, because she's not dead. But I still see that that's one of those potentials out here, that they might say that that she was killed by ICE, or she was killed by so-and-so, trying as a way to slander a group of people and trying to politicize her. But there's just a lot of illusion around that. All right. Well, thank you, my beloved friends and family. I truly appreciate this opportunity. Look for me when I'm on the earth, or if you're in one of these places where I am, reach out and see if you can feel my energies, because we're in this truly amazing, amazing time. And it's only going to get better and better and better, because with every day that passes, there's more of the light vibrational energy that comes in. And it's a wonderful time to be here on Saluia. Greetings. It is I, Cristallia. Woo. I'm adjusting to this vibration of coming in after Brysentia. And one of the reasons it's a little bit of an adjustment is she has a lot of that Pleiadean energy in her. So when I'm coming in and I start talking, it's almost as much as if I'm talking to a bunch of Pleiadians as much as I'm talking to a bunch of humans. And so it's just kind of this blending or this merging of the energies, which is actually kind of funny. But I'm here to talk about these changes that are taking place. She spoke at pretty good length about the changes that are going on in the universe, and that was one of the things that I wanted to mention. Start looking on, when you're doing your searches, when you're looking on YouTube or X or those different platforms, start looking for people talking about different species that are coming in. The Sirians, the Pleiadeans, and the Andromedins, yes, to a degree, but not 100%. But Lyrans, Arcturans like Albion. There are so many of these species that are very close into the planet, and these are the ones that are working with you all the time. Some of them are on these ships. You hear a lot about Ashtar these days, and Ashtar is one of the first ones that you began hearing about in 2005, 2000, something like that, or maybe even 1995. But his command is a group of ships that is part of the Galactic Federation that has been circulating the planet for a very long time. They take people in and out of the Earth plane. They take them out to other planets. They bring in energy when it needs to settle something down. So Albion is of the Arcturans, and he has a group of ships that do something similar to Ashtar, but they are not the same. They work in harmony with one another, but they're just different groups of people. Like you have your different groups of the different countries that are on the Earth plane. So what I believe is going to happen is you're going to start hearing a lot more about unity coming forth. There's a lot more unity that's going to be not only on your planet, but unity between the stars and the planet. You've been hearing so much about the universal light, the universal energy, the what do they call it? The quantum financial system, the quantum energy field, the quantum, all of those different words that you have that kind of mean the same thing to me. More and more and more of that is being anchored into each one of you. And the best way in which to anchor these energies is through each one of you individually. What happens with this and what's so important for this is that as each one of you is just moving through, doing your own thing, expanding in your meditations, expanding in your connection with the universe, you are anchoring that energy. And the more that it anchors within you, the more that it allows the other light beings to come in and not only work with you individually, but work with those on the planet that either they want to work because they're already in that higher frequency, or they worked with those helping them to become more awake and more aware. So as this change continues to happen on the Earth plane, you are going to see more and more things that are put in your face for you to make that choice. Am I just going to believe this all word for word for word, or am I going to say, yeah, that's talking about the stuff going on, but I'm going to let my focus stay here in the light? Brentia talked about this. I loved her example as a means of helping each one of you to really be conscious of where you are. There is so much coming out with disclosure. They're starting to talk about people. They're starting to talk about tribunals. They're starting to talk about what's that guy's name? Epstein. And so many people think it all focuses around Epstein. He was just one person. He was a pivotal person. He was a focus, and he has exposed many. But the truth of the matter is, and what truly is stunning, are all of the other persons that were part of his spider's web, and all of the other individuals that that participated in his nastiness. So while the focus is on that one individual, people need to start recognizing that, you know what, we need to broaden this. We need to spread this out a little bit and not just fixate on one or two people, because we understand that there is so much that is, there's so much that is happening. There's so much that needs to be disclosed. And if you just keep focusing on one, you're going to miss the thousands that are over here. And that's one of the things that I always come in and I try to share with you is stay in the big picture, stay in the big scheme of things. Don't discount everything that's going on because it is of import, but don't get stuck in that minutia. Stay in the light, stay in the big picture of things, and remember that that's what you're bringing in. So you may say to me, well, it's hard because I'm just trying to have enough money to get my groceries. I'm just trying to have enough time and not be so exhausted to be able to do fun things. So it's when you're in a situation like that, it is a lot harder to be able to make changes, but you can. And as soon as you do, that's when maybe you still don't have as much money, but it doesn't seem to matter so much. Or maybe you still are very tired, but now I seem to be sleeping better. So shifting your focus, getting out of wherever it is that you may be stuck, is what really opens up the doors in ways that you can't even imagine. When I look at this planet and when I look at this completion of this phase, which it seems to me like it's stalled a little bit. It got really fast at the beginning of this year, 2026, and now it seems like it's stalled out a little bit. However, I feel that with the equinox, things are going to speed up again, and you're going to start having a lot of downloads again, or whatever it is that's happening. That doesn't mean that things aren't happening. And very, very, very soon, you're going to start hearing about, oh yeah, he actually was killed 3 years ago, or oh yeah, he actually died, or he had his tribunal X number of years ago. So it's not going to be that they show you these things as if they're happening right now. You're going to hear that it happened in the past. And there'll be many, many people that won't like that. They'll say that's not fair. But these are the people that always say things are not fair. You could tell them it's blue outside, the sky is blue, and they'll say absolutely not, it's purple. Didn't you see it was purple? They'll argue just for the sake of arguing. Some of those are the NPCs, and they're doing that as a means of stimulating people to think. Others of them are people that just don't want to make changes. They just don't want to wake up, or they just don't want to recognize that something that they believed was true, that their whole framework is going to collapse beneath them. But what's going to happen, and you can tell this to people, or perhaps you'll feel it for yourself, is if it feels like the whole framework of your life just collapses beneath you, there is this beautiful, loving community. There is this higher light vibration that is here. It is right within you right now. And that's just going to help to shift your energies into something that feels better to you. I get it. This is that ego thing. And I'm not as familiar. I mean, I'm familiar with it now because I've been around so long, but that's just a part of the process for so many of you. And I do want to reiterate that as I'm looking at humanity and as I'm looking at society, there are so many more people that are recognizing that I have to make a change, that I'm not going to stay in this old energy or look at what they've been doing. I want to be over here. So even though you may say it doesn't appear that that's the way it is, it's way more so that way than what you realize. So I hope that that can resonate with you, when you hear me saying this, because I'm looking at your planet globally. What I also see is that more countries are going to begin to work hand in hand with one another. There's always been that going on, but some of these communities and organizations that were used for nefarious means are actually, they might keep it as a shell because it's a name or a phrase that people, like the United Nations, is something that people knew what that name meant and what it represented. And they're going to take that now and shift the energy and start working with it and doing things for the good. But it needed to be cleaned out very desperately, and it is still in the process of being cleaned out. I see an equal 50-50 that it'll either go away completely or it'll be shifted and start doing things for the betterment of others. The warfare that you have on this earth plane, to me, it looks like it's very minimal compared to what it used to be. That what are those two countries, R and U, as you say, I, the other one, there still feels to me like there's stuff going on or conflict, but underneath it all, it's like agreements have been made, it's been shut down, but they haven't told the world that. So I'm not sure, maybe Albion knows more about that. But I did want to say that each one of you is having more impact than what you realize. And the more that you're living in this high vibrational essence, the more that you're going to see what is available all around you. Let's talk for a minute about the dragon energies. We love the dragons. You know, we had an animal similar to that, or a species, not an animal, similar to that from where I came from. And they were the ancient, they were anchors, they were transmitters of energy, very similar to the dragons that are on the earth plane. At one time, there were millions of them that were on the earth plane, and they were multiple different colors, they were multiple different sizes, they had multiple different looks to them. They did not all look the same. And so a great many of those shifted, they left, they went to other planets, some of them stayed inside your planet, but you will begin to hear more and more about them. In fact, I have this sense of like books are being written. And in the books, you talk about the dragons that are the seers, or the dragons that have anchored energy. And so in that mini with Elbayon just the other day, talked about the dragons and their effect on China. In essence, what they've said was, not doing it anymore. You cannot do this anymore. We've put our foot down. Their whole intention and purpose was that they took a step back, allowing humanity to live out humanity's experiences, to have the negativity, to have the control and the manipulation, to have all of these many different things go on. And they stood there as observers, and only if it was the worst of the worst did they step in. So they started coming out of the mountains. They've started coming back into life in probably around 2015 or something like that, 14, 15. And so they've now had 11 years or so to be, not, some of them were asleep, but they've been waking up, or they've been becoming much more aware of what's happening on the earth plane, in part because of these changes of Gaia. It's like Gaia can't change without shifting the vibration and the frequency of the earth. So that was one thing that started waking them up. The other thing that started was that earth is at this crossroads, and humanity, you knew that, okay, something's got to be done. And so with things just dragging out for so very long, it felt as if in the country called China, that they came out and they said, we're done right here, right now. And it was like they're going to eliminate those that were part of the communism or the Communist Party, and they were going to get rid of those that were basically the controlling and manipulating people. And then what was left, they had someone in there in alignment with Trump and some of these other leaders, so that they could, step forth and say, well, we've already got this created. We've already got this in the background. But we do literally see, so the dragons themselves, most of them stay in the caves, deep in the caves. However, they have other lesser dragons, or those that shapeshift more easily into humanity, and they're the ones they send out to do their bidding. And sometimes it's to gather information, sometimes it's to insert intention, and sometimes it's literally they've been the ones that took down certain people that were that they said, you've had your chance, you're coming down now. So some people, like from my perspective, looking with that crystalline energy, looking at that view from the universe, some people will say, well, these are universal beings. You know, I thought they couldn't participate on the earth plane, or they couldn't have any impact. But no, these are the ancient beings that are the ancient core of the earth itself. These are the ones that help to create Gaia, in alignment with Gaia, and then holding and anchoring this consciousness. They were there during Lemuria, during what you call Mu, during what you call Atlantis, during all these different phases of time, space, reality that you've known about on the earth plane. And at times very active and interactive with people, and then at times very passive and observers. So they're moving back around into a phase where there'll be a certain number of them that will become active again, and you will have a sense of them. You may see them in your dream state. You may see them in your meditations. There's different ways in which they may come to you. So the dragon energy is reviving, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay. Just one question for me today. How can grown-ups practice developing telepathy? How can they send and how can they receive? So if this is something that you're trying to figure out how to do, a few things that you can try when you're practicing it. It's a lot easier to do something like this when you're working with someone that you know and that you love, because sending and receiving telepathy is an energy connection between you and another being. Now, there can be a consciousness, like a consciousness of the planet that you may receive messages in. Is that telepathy? Yes, it's a form of telepathy. There may be times when, just speaking of the dragons, when you feel the energy of the dragons and you feel messages, that's telepathy. But if you're trying to make it very intentional and to work with it, you think about like say it's your partner, and you go into meditation, you anchor your energies, because the more that you anchor your energies, the more you open up your consciousness, and you're still present there within your human self. And so as you are connecting with your loved one, just think about it as if the two of you are sitting here and you're sending love, they're sending love. You're just sending that energy and that connection back and forth to one another. And then just be quiet, just be in a state of being. And energy, you can be thinking about it heart to heart, third eye to third eye, all of your energy bodies, whatever resonates with you. But then let one of you begin to just think of something. And say, for example, the family dog. So you think about what that dog looks like, and you create that image in your mind. You think about, how soft to pet. You think about the little antics that the dog likes to do. You think about the color. You think about not only how it looks, but then how it makes you feel when you're holding the dog, when you're playing with the dog. Whatever it is about the family dog that makes that dog real to you is what you bring in your mind, and then you send it to the other person. And that person can be in a space of being open to receive, as if they open up the doors and they're just quietly sitting and they're relaxing, and their energy bodies are open, and something should just slip into them, just kind of slip in and download. It may not work. And from what I have seen of humans are incredibly impatient. If it doesn't happen the first time, it's not going to ever work. But so do it again and again, practice with it, make it joyful, make it playful, make it fun. Whatever it is that you wish to do. You can be you in one room, them in another room in your house or something like that. And, gee, I sure could use a glass of water. And the next thing you know, they're bringing you a glass of water. It can also be, I'm thinking about my good friend, and the next thing you know, they call you on the telephone. So telepathy can be, it's not just that you have these full conversations back and forth. You absolutely can. But if you're trying to create it consciously, these are just a few things that you can do. The other thing to pay attention to is when, like, say, for example, you were thinking about your friend, they called you on the phone. Okay, I got it. Thank you. High five. And then the time that you're thinking, man, I'm thirsty, I could use a glass of water. The glass of water, is brought to you. High five, got it. So don't just take for granted when you receive telepathic messages and you think, oh, it's a coincidence, or oh, it didn't mean anything. But instead, acknowledge it for what it is. Hey, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And that'll just strengthen it more and more in the future. So everyone has the ability to communicate with telepathy, and everyone has the ability to have all of your senses open. It tends to be your ego or your personality or the human part of you that filters it or gives you the perception that things are either not working or not working easily, or that there's a problem. So that's what I believe about that. Elon is coming in, and I know he's got stuff to say, so I'll take this time to just send my light and love into each one of you. I, too, am coming down like Brysentia is. Brysentia is part of a specific group of beings. There's actually about 100 of them that go into these smaller groups, as she mentioned, but they go to various parts of the world all the time. I am working with different groups of beings. They're working specifically on anchoring things into physical humanity. My goal, my choice, my alignment is working with the crystalline energies and the light codes that are coming with people. So I work with the way that can be more easily integrated into each one of you. So if you think about me, if you're feeling my energies, you just feel my love I'm sending to you, then hello. Thank you, Cristallia. I appreciate that. And what you've done is you've just opened yourself up. You probably got a download, and then that'll integrate within you, either over minutes, days, hours, whatever it may be. But I thank you. I'm ever more present than I was before, but I love this beautiful group of people. You are so wonderful to work with as we bring in this ascension process. Ansaluia. Greetings. It is I, Elon. Woo! So much is happening. I wanted to share with you about a council meeting that I attended recently. One of the other two just spoke of Ashtar. He is very, very, very prominent now. He has been for a very long time. And in fact, there were groups of people that tried to smear his name. They said that he was part of the nefarious ones. And whenever people do that, there's two things happening. Number one, it's someone just specifically creating a lie and perpetrating that lie and putting it out there for people. Number two, it can also be that someone thinks that they're actually connecting to and receiving information, but it's giving them negative information. And then chances are it's that person filtering it in such a way that they consider it in a negative light. So there is only one Ashtar. There are not multiple Ashtars, and he is 100% of the light. He has been in and around the planet of Earth, and he's been a part of the Galactic Federation for thousands of years. And just as with I've been here not quite as long as he has, but he'll sometimes incarnate or he'll take time out and rejuvenate his body. But he does have physical body. He does have physical consciousness. He does come into the earth plane, but he prefers to stay on the ships and in that space that surrounds the planet. So I've got my group, my 10 to now, and his is associated with multiple different species. And he's like the anchor. Some will say he's Pleiadean. I believe he's more Andromedan, because the Andromedins are the ones that are at the top of the echelon, if you want to call it that. They're the peacemakers, they're the mediators of the universe. And but people will think that Ashtar is these many different things because he's associated with so many different species and he speaks for so many different species. And in doing so, they pick up, people pick up, oh, he's actually this, or oh, he's this. It's all true. But it's not just one thing or another. Okay. All right. So we recently had a meeting. It was out in Andromeda, and it was actually quite a celebration. You've seen the pictures, you've heard the images, where down in the center are a group of people speaking, and in various, coming out like spokes in various places around there, you'll see multiple different people that represent different planets, that represent different ships, that represent different things, and everybody has a time to talk. Sometimes this is a place for grievances, and sometimes this is a place for just simply communication. So this time it was about communication, and it was about the way, where's the planet, and the planet Earth, and how does it relate to the other planets around it. And the consensus is that it's finally, literally, I'm not kidding you, finally getting to the place that that it was thought they would be probably about what you would consider 20 to 25 years ago. When this group of people were looking at the Earth plane, they see it as something that still has some of that nasty, nefarious energy under it, but it's in splotchy little places. So the next communication was, when do we make contact that people have talked about? When do we start making it available that people can come out to the universe, so that we freely go in and out of the planet? And so that was a lot of the conversation. The other thing that was of conversation was, what's the next step that we can do to help society as they move through this process? And what you consider your years, your months, your years, the next several months are going to be very hard for those people that do not want to step out of the old paradigm. However, they will not be able to stay within that paradigm any longer, because it is literally cracking beneath their feet. It is literally breaking down around them. And so they will have no choice but to move into the light. Then you may hear about, oh, they transitioned, oh, you know, all of these people transitioning, and perhaps they did. However, everybody has many, many, many opportunities when they can choose to live in a way that's of the light, that they can choose to live into something that's going to be more uplifting and helpful to them. And they will only go around so long, because it will no longer serve them to stay in that very low vibrational energy. There won't be anything to support them. I hear you. We hear you. We actually talked about that. All of what you call spam, all of what you call lies, all of what the way in which AI has manipulated things. But again, remembering AI is programmed. So the people programming the AI to try to make what they think is real. And so this is literally happening in just such this way, so that every person can learn to discern, so that people can look at that and say, I know that's wrong, and just throw it out. Don't go asking someone else, is this right? Is this wrong? No. Keep it in yourself. Is this true or not? And stick with it. Because you guys know, you're in the flow, you have your deep intuition, you have the ability to discern. So don't ask other people unless it's something that truly, truly, truly is going to be devastating to you, because you will never get to that next phase unless you start trusting yourself. So just keep it to yourself, trust yourself, and know that you probably are right. So we talked about that. We talked about there's going to be a phase. It feels like it's coming in what you would call your April, May timeframe, when a lot of what you call mainstream media will be taken out. And as they're taken out, then you'll see that there's a lot less spam. You'll see that there's a lot less of the lies and the nefarious crap that's going on. It is at the end. It is no longer, it is still being fed, because of so many people that still go into anxiety and they still talk about it, but it is a fraction of what it used to be. And it no longer is being fed, but from the center, from, the place that was the center that was underneath Israel and Gaza. That's gone. And it's been almost 2 years now that's been gone, or a year. I don't know. As we said earlier, time, space, reality is different on the Earth plane. So in this meeting with the Andromedins, they spoke about the fact that there is going to be a very quick transition, and by quick we mean quick in human standards. And there are already starting to be people that said, wait, was it bad? Wait, there were things that were bad that were going on. So your memory is going to be short. There will be a lot of people that will forget what it was like and how bad it was. So we say, don't forget, because you never want that to happen again, but don't dwell on it, because this is the way to change, is by acknowledging and letting it go. It's still there in the very back of your consciousness, but it's not affecting you in your everyday life. Okay, so there will be, they're acknowledging the dragons. They did. There were not dragons that came into this meeting, but there were representatives of the dragons that were at this meeting. And they didn't need permission to awaken, but it was acknowledged that they are awakening and that they will begin to take steps again. And that was in alignment with what the Andromedan Council is trying to do for the next phase. Because again, dragons are part of the earth. This is not someone coming from outside the earth to create these dragons, to create these changes. This is something that's already a part of the earth. That's a very dramatic, powerful, spiritual energy that is making changes from within Gaia and into all of humanity upon Gaia. Okay, so the other thing that came from this is we don't understand why people fixate on when's the big disclosure of the ETs. It's going to happen bit by bit by bit by bit. There's not going to be like the big ships that come in and anchor in 7 parts of the planet. No, it's not going to happen like that. But as people become more stabilized, you will begin to see it. And people that are in places of leadership, we'll begin to talk about it, and they'll introduce you to people, most likely the Nordics, because they're so much similar to the humanity that's there. And what you're going to find out is that many of these people that are the leaders of these various countries are also direct alignment with these various planets that are out in the universe. And it may not be said as specifically as that at first, but it will come out that that's also true. And that will be why some of these changes took place in the way they did. So the conclusion of the council is that there are actually going to be even more ships that are surrounding the planet, because there are more people going in and out of the planet, and it's activating some of these bases that have been in still point inside, like many of them, as they said, they're inside volcanoes, they're inside caves, they're inside the oceans, they're inside many different places on the earth. You can't say there's just one or another. But that's all being activated now because your vibration is high enough that it can allow these things to take place. This is but another way of confirming that all of your hard work has been excellent. All of the things that you've done has been exactly what it needed to be. And yes, there may be many people that notice a great divide between people, but don't get caught up in that. Don't let your fixation go into that. Instead, understand that they just need to transition. They're just ready to transition, and try your best not to give any of that negativity any energy by reading about it, getting upset about it, sharing it, anything like that. We're going to jump into questions because I know there are many that would like to, that are here. What kind of advanced technologies will we see soon that will help humanity with our health or in our environment? Okay, the med beds, we know that we've talked about that many different times, and they are actually undergoing kind of a transition. They were originally made when the consciousness of the planet was going to be a certain way. So now they're being upgraded because the consciousness of the planet and the frequency of the planet is upgrading itself. And so there will be that. This is one of the first technologies that you will see is talking about the healing modalities. The next thing that comes on its heels is you will see a big transition in energy. Right now, you've got electricity and you've got solar power, but they're going to do it's already in place. It's just about putting it out to people. But the Teslas, the magnetic energy, that is something that is ready to roll out, but it's not going to roll out until that quantum financial system has rolled out, the quantum energy has come in. All of these things are hinged on one another. And so the quantum financial system, again, still going on, but you will recall we take a look at this almost every single time that we get together, and it felt like it was going to be January, February, and then there was this big slowdown that took place. We believe that the big slowdown took place because of the alignments of the planets and because of that transition, and people needed to adjust to it, and I believe that that's also what caused that great divide. But now things are beginning to speed up again, and with your, what do you call it, your Chinese astrology with the year of the fire horse, you know, fire is transitional, the horse is fast, is speed. And so I feel as if there's going to be a lot of things speeding up again after this new moon and the eclipse that's coming up on the 17th. And then especially with your equinox, there's going to be a lot going on. But all of these things are in place, and it's just about when is it going to roll out. And that's what I feel happening very, very, very eminently. And as that happens, then you'll start hearing about energy. Then you'll start hearing about healing. Then you'll start hearing about, you know, other ways that you can heal the planet. The other thing that's going on, let me just mention this. I thought Brysentia would mention it, but she didn't, is as these dragons are waking up, there are many other beings that are part of the earth, and they're revitalizing the earth. You recall how we've talked now, was it a year ago, 18 months ago, how the elders of all of the various parts of the planet were coming back to earth, and they were the ones that were nurturing the earth, helping the earth to rejuvenate itself. And that's been a massive project that's been going on for quite some time. And it's almost like someone just peels things back and it's like, oh my God, look at the earth. It's suddenly holding water again instead of it being like plastic where it just rolled off. So the plastic in the foods, the fake food, the fake stuff that has been so prevalent for the last 10 years or 15 years, all of that is going to go away over the next 6 months. It won't go away completely, but you will see big changes taking place. So that's what I see for technology and that transformation. Can you give me your thoughts on David Quigley being the real JFK Jr.? The one that's known as JFK Jr. that was supposed to die is actually George Onassis's son, or is anyway, son of Onassis, and David Quigley is the true John, as they called him. I am familiar with this individual that the person is asking about here, and I do recall looking at it a few times in the past. And I recall at the time that came up was that this individual, David Quigley, had actually been NK'd altered and was put as an alternative to the real JFK Jr., but he was given memories, he was given experiences, he was given everything that made him think that he was the true, because if anything had happened to this one, then he would step in. And, but so let me take a look at it. That's my perception as I look at it without going really deeply into it. And I know that that's the perception that many people have about it. So let me just take a minute and see if there's anything else when I go into it and connect to this individual. So, well, President Kennedy was of the light, and he was there to create these changes. His family and the families that he was connected to were part of the nefarious ones. He himself was raised with nefarious deeds happening. And so this individual and the other, the one known as, what is it? JFK Jr. They were both raised in families of the elites and of that. And within those families, there's all sorts of shenanigans that always have taken place. So that's what I feel for these two people as they're growing up. So when I look at David Quigley, and I say, are you the real one? 100%. He believes it 100%. When I look at him and I ask him, that's the answer I get. When I look at the other one and I say, hey, are you? I get 100%. Yes, I am. So both individuals believe that to be their truth. I do not think either one of them is part of Onassis. I believe he played another role, as far as Jackie going to him afterwards. But I do not believe that the one known in the public figure is Onassis' son. That I get a solid no on that. So who is the true biological son? The one that is known in the public is the one that I believe is the true biological son of John Kennedy and Jacqueline Onassis. I believe this other one, maybe they had another child. Maybe, I don't know. But there's, I just, every time I'm looking at these guys and I'm looking at this triangle and I'm trying to figure it out, that's how it separates for me. That's my perception. But I don't think anyone will ever tell this individual that he is not. He will believe it until the day he transitions. It's not like he's playing a role. This is his truth, 100%. And he had a lot of MK altering. And so that's one of the reasons he believes that. What can you tell us about the Super Bowl and the Olympics? Are they still part of the dark? Both have been taken over. Neither one of them are filled with the nefarious energies that they had been in the past. It is unfortunate that they still politicalize things. It's like, when I'm looking at this and I see it, the Super Bowl feels like there's a lot of well, let me just say first and foremost, because so many people said that it was mainly known for its human trafficking. Yes, that is true. Not anymore. And I would say it's been about a good 5 years, 4 to 5 years, that it has not been able to do the human trafficking like they used to. The Super Bowl is somewhat scripted. There is a certain degree that they knew the outcome ahead of time, and that was scripted. That Super Bowl entertainment halfway through, that was done to wake up a lot of people. It was not of the light. It was a very negative energy. And simply the fact that another group stepped in and said, look, don't watch them, watch us. That was showing you the duality of what humanity is in right now and nudging people to make a choice. So that's what that feels like to me. The Olympics does not feel near as heavy and nefarious as it did the last time that we connected to them. However, it does still feel like there's some control and manipulation going on in the background. But neither one of these are as bad as what they were in the past. Hello from Australia. Is Pauline Hanson from the One Nation going to win the next election? There's a strong possibility that, yes, she will. There's a lot of transition that's going on in Australia now, and I understand that you guys don't see it, but there's a great deal that's going on underneath the surface, and so I do see there's a strong possibility that she will win. I would say more than 50%. I'd say more than 50%, maybe 55, 60% chance she's going to win. But other things need to happen first in order for it to get to that place. And it feels like as all of this disclosure comes out and people are understanding what's really been going on and they are no longer buried their head in the sand, then they will look at her and say, oh my God, well, here's something totally different. Let's vote for her. But we do like her energy, and we do feel as if she would be good for the country. So that's why we get the sense that it is probably something positive. And yes, Canada keeps getting worse and worse. Here's what we're talking about. Your focus is on all the negativity that is going on in Canada and the fact that you can't trust any of the politicians and that there's all of these nefarious things they're doing. In part, as I'm looking at Canada, it's like some of those, not colonies, what do you call them, providences, are looking to separate from the nation. They're looking to make changes. And so this individual just is in that cycle of everything's bad, everything's negative, nothing's changing, nothing's going to happen. And this is where you need to go to the other tavern, get out of that cycle, and not buy into any of it. It is in the process of transitioning, as every single country on this planet is in the process of. So don't buy into what any of the people that are in charge are saying. Don't let it get you down. Don't let it make you upset. Just understand everybody's playing their role, and yours is to bring in the light. This will be the last one. Are Jared Rand's technologies, such as the broad range replicator, the celestial chamber, the learning helmet, are they legitimate? And will they actually be produced and available for humanity within the next 5 years? I am familiar with this Jared Rands. I believe we've looked at him before. He has a lot of technology. We see a lot of the Sirian energy around him, and even the Arcturan. But I do believe that a lot of his technology is going to go forward. When he's talking about the replicator, one of the things he's talking about is food. And there are replicators out that we might use on the ships and stuff, but it has the ability to reproduce nutrition. What I'm picking up from his is it's just like not there's stuff, it's missing stuff. So I don't see that happening. I see the healing technologies working. I see this helmet that they're talking about. I see that as a way of helping people that have balance issues or helping people like with their pineal gland. But it's just a way of working from your brain down. And even this helmet things, I don't see that as being super popular, but just a very few people are interested in it. It's more like his celestial chamber, as he calls his healing chamber. That's what I see having much more effect. And he's on the right track, but some of what he's saying, we don't feel is 100% coming from the universe. Some of it, it feels like he got some information and then he kind of created it on his own. Or, you know, there's just something about him that doesn't resonate with us that it's 100% accurate. But he is tapping into something, and whether it's just the way that he follows it through the process or whatever that may be, that's where we see things kind of shifting. All right, beloved family. This has been our usual long night. I thank you for this opportunity. You are here in these very exciting times. Be excited about living. Be excited about the transitions that are taking place. Be excited that you are here right now and you have the ability to experience this to its absolute fullest. We are ever with you on Saluia. Okay. So this is Shelly. I'm back. Thank you for being here. I see we have quite a few people here, and I see that there are many. Change your population, you'll be amazed. Oh, someone was saying, I think she was talking about the changing your focus and being able to change your life. Anyway, I'm always kind of ungrounded now, so let me go take a minute and thank you for being here. Again, crystallinetransformations.com. Go and look at my website. Maybe consider a donation or something if you'd like. I am here on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. That's where I stream to. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.